and facilitate the establishment and operation of a community/senior center in Evansville, Wisconsin. So that's our official mission, and we try to keep that in mind when we design our building. We build a bit different than a lot of people do. We kind of chose our building first, and then we are seeking land, and we're near the end, we hope, of negotiating for a land purchase to place this structure on. So please come up and ask the people later about any questions you have, and we have a sheet over here for recorded. We want to record some of the questions or issues that people might have about the building. I want to introduce the board, and I'll just go alphabetically. I don't know, I didn't see Gordy Andrew. Is he here? Gordy's on our board. We have some township people and Evansville people on our board. Karen Bass is our secretary. She's here.
Right here.
And Wally Baumberger is a member right there. He's on our site committee. Sandy Decker is here. Gordon Franklin is here.
Yeah,
Gordon Franklin, there he is, yeah. Phil Hamilton, I think Phil could not make it this evening. Cindy Hurst is here. Someplace. There's Cindy. And I'm here, I'm Phil Kress. And Mary Libby is here, our vice president.
Stand up, stand
All
up.
right, Mary. So she's our pool expert on the board. Janice Righand, of course, is here. And David Ross, I don't think David could make it this evening. Elaine Strasberg is here. And we have two officially, as of today, two new board members, and that's Dean Arnold. I saw Dean.
Right here.
Oh,
Okay.
Stand up, Dean.
And Linda Gallagher. There you go, Linda. And maybe, I work with the site committee, mostly besides kind of opening the meetings up, and Janice would run the meetings, but I worked on the site committee with Wally and Phil Hamilton and Janice, and we were in charge of coordinating the engineer, architect work with the sites that we were looking at to make offers to purchase on. And we do have, on that committee, we don't have, all of those members are board members. Some of our other committees, like the fundraising committee, have members who are, or have members on the committee who are not board members. And maybe Janice could tell us some of those when she comes up here. So keep your questions and build your questions in mind, and please come up and look at the, especially interesting, I think, are the floor plan of the buildings. And you'll see a lot of interesting things there, we hope. So, here you go, Janice.
Thank you, Phil. That's the right way. I'm going to stand back out of here so I don't have my back to anybody. I want to thank you as well tonight for all coming out. This has been a major project, and I'm just going to give a very brief history of how this got started. Back in October of 2005, I was the mayor at that time, and Bill Connors was our city administrator. He gave me a call one day and just said, Kent Knutson from Edward Jones and Stoughton called me up. He has a donor who wants to donate $1 million for a senior center in Evansville. And that was just astronomical news for us at that time. So we arranged a meeting with Kent, Bill Connors, myself, and Diane Skinner, who was unable to be here tonight. Diane was president of the Primetimers at that time. So we found out about this unbelievable endowment that was coming our way, and we started working with the Primetimers to find out what they wanted in a center, where they wanted it. We toured several senior centers in Stoughton, Oregon, Waunakee, where else? Oh, and Milton, the Gathering Place, which is the Cadillac of all senior centers. So we started gathering ideas. We tried to decide, should this fall under city jurisdiction? Should this be private ownership? Should it be owned by the Primetimers? There were a lot of issues to be hammered out, and we spent a lot of time determining how to go forward. And as is common in a case like this, when we don't have a panel of real experts, we called in a consultant, and that was Forrest Frank. But not to get too far ahead of myself, I would like Kent to just make a few statements about our donor relations with him, if you wouldn't mind, sir.
Thanks for the warning.
It wasn't an email.
I missed that email. No, we started the process with Janice when she was mayor, and as we've progressed through the time and getting Boris involved, it's been a great experience to see how all of this has continued to grow. Granted, $1 million is, for any organization, is a nice gift and can put together a nice facility. And as I was talking earlier here with Phil, in that when you get a gift like this, it can do one of two things. It can create chaos, or it can create unity. And you know what you folks have chosen to do is to take this $1 million as a stepping stone and really make this a much better project and a much more usable project for the entire community as time passes on, as opposed to just being able to take what was given and build around that. So as you continue to go, I know Boris has done a very good job in laying the groundwork for Janice and the board. I know the board has been very active to get everybody involved, as many people as they can involved in the community to partake. And the more that are involved, the better project this is going to be. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you, Kent. And by the way, this is Kent Knudsen from Edward Jones, who was the bearer of the good news originally when we started this project. And just to mention a few names of some of the prime timers who were active in that first group, besides Diane Skinner, Harlan and Angie Miller, Cindy Hurst, Gordy Franklin, Roger Berg, Chris Eager, Dave Ross, Elaine Strasberg, myself, and Sandy Decker and Karen Aikman helped us out on occasion throughout those first year or so. And Tina Rossmiller was Roger Berg's secretary, and Roger donated her services to us for 6 months. So that helped us immensely by having Tina help us with all that legwork. But as time went on, like I said, we realized that we needed an expert to get us going in the right direction, and that's where Boris came on board. And just to let you know some of the things he did very briefly, he organized our 501c3, our bylaws, our articles of incorporation, got us on the right track legally. So we got all of that behind us during his tenure, and he was with us for a year. So I'd like to introduce Boris Frank and have him say a couple words.
When I first became involved, this was a senior center. It's evolved, as Kent has indicated, into much more. And I think he most appropriately stated it in that it has brought the community together in a much larger way than had been originally envisioned. This is going to be an incredible facility for you. I've worked over the last 25 years on a number of projects like this, and when I see a community come together as you have, it just does my heart good. One of the things that also is exciting to me with a project like this, when you start, you have a vision as to what it can be, but then you go out and you talk to people in the community and find out what it could be, going way beyond the original vision. And that's what's really exciting to me. As this evolves, you're going to have, I think, wonderful feelings about this entire facility. People ask me all the time, what's the key to success in a project of this type? It's just no question about it, it's leadership. A number of people have stepped up. The donor, and what a generous gift. So rarely do we see a donor with the vision for making a contribution of this type to a community to really start the process of looking at the community as a whole. And it is just to that person's everlasting credit that this will be a legacy to that individual and to that family. But it's leadership that has to carry it from there, and you have great leadership. That's always what's impressed me about this project. Your community leaders, people in the community, have stepped up to see to it that this is going to happen. The most exciting times for a project like this, of course, are when somebody makes that first commitment. That's wonderful. Another one is what you're seeing tonight, the beginnings of the solution to the issue. A third will be when the property is selected, and you're at that. A fourth one will be when you make your fundraising goal, and I have no doubt whatsoever that you will be able to achieve that given time. As a matter of fact, it may even happen before we leave tonight. Who knows? You know, somebody could just sit down, write a check for, what, about 2 million? Would that finish it up? Yeah, that'd be. And then we wouldn't have to go through any more agony. And the most exciting time of all, however, will be when you cut that ribbon. It is a very emotional time, and it's a feel-good time of the first order. So I congratulate you as a community of all the leaders who have stepped up and are making this happen. And I was delighted to be able to remove myself from the process because you didn't need me anymore. And that's where I'm delighted the Gilberts have come in, one of the outstanding firms in the area. They had a choice. They interviewed, 4 or 5 different firms, I think, and settled on the Gilberts. And I've known Ginny for quite a few years, and I was not pushing it, Ginny, I should point that out. But they selected you, and as I kind of hoped they would. Now, don't tell the others, all right, because I did select them. But I, again, congratulate you, and this is an extremely exciting day because it's the first time I've seen the plan. And wow, that's nice.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you, Boris, for all you did to help us to get us off the ground and moving in the right direction. That was a major step for us to have that kind of help because, like I said, we're a bunch of novices and we're trying to pull it all together. And that did help us immensely. And as Boris said, the next stage was finding a construction consultant that had the expertise to guide us in the right direction so that we would not make costly mistakes in the construction process or in the selection process of who we dealt with as far as an architect, a contractor, and all the subcontractors, because none of us are true construction experts. And so in came Ginny Gilbert, whose husband ran a construction firm out of McFarland for many years, and she knows a construction background, so she guaranteed us she would save us more money than what her fees would cost. And we're going to hold her to that. With that, I'd like to introduce Ginny Gilbert. Thank you.
Thank you. Our company used to be known as Gilbert Construction Corporation, and over the years we've been involved in the construction consulting or estimating of over $500 million worth of work. And one of the things that really impressed us about this project was the desire, the mandate really that the board brought forward, that was we want to find a way to do this as cost effectively as possible without cutting any corners. We don't want a cheap building. We want to make sure we get as much value for the money as we possibly can because these are donor dollars that are going into this facility. And so that was the mandate that we were given. Find us ways to save money on this project, and that's what we really do these days is we work with municipalities and school districts and organizations to help them save money. And that has been at the forefront of this entire project. The board has worked incredibly hard on that and has really agonized over all the decisions they've made. You know, when you look at this plan, it looks like, well, this was really easy to bring this whole thing together. But literally, every time a line went on that drawing, it was, what can we use this space for? Are there multiple functions that we can use these spaces for? How do we do this as cost effectively as possible? How do we make this as sustainable as possible so that we're having low energy costs? And how do we really do something that's really going to benefit the community over time? Because we really realize that this money is coming from the community. This money is coming from the people who are going to live here, and this is to be a benefit for the people who live here. So it's really been a pleasure working with everybody who's been on the board. You know, we are continuing to look at opportunities to save costs on this project as it goes forward. And we will do our best job to get you as much facility as we possibly can for the money. So thank you.
Thank you, Ginny. We appreciate all that Ginny and her husband Brad have done for us. They've come down several times to consult with us and bring everything in a spreadsheet that's so easy to understand, compares apples to apples, and they explain what the industry norms are to us bunch of novices who wouldn't know that otherwise. So it's really made us understand this whole process better and be able to make wiser choices in who we pick for our other experts along the line. Which brings me to our next expert. Dean Schultz from Excel is here. He's our architect. We interviewed 6 different architects in this process. So as Ginny said, this was not just a snap of the fingers. We went through the interview process, RFPs with 6 different architects before we settled on Dean. So we brought Dean in, and he brought us the first rendering of this building, and we all went, oh. And he couldn't believe it. He said that never happened. So he impressed us very much. So I'm going to pass this on to Dean.
First of all, on behalf of Excel Engineering, we feel honored to be involved in this project. I just want to commend the board on the great leadership. Basically, my job is not to design the building. My job is to be a listener and to take your vision and put it into paper and ultimately get it so it gets to be put into a building. And the leadership has really given me a good vision of what you want for this facility. And I think that had a lot to do with the first go around was so close. Just quickly going through what is all involved in the building. Initially what we did is we went and sat down with the board and did a space needs analysis, and again tried to multi-use as many spaces as we could. I believe this is a very flexible building and it can be used for many different types of functions. To start, we do have a covered entry, and the plan is to have the parking out into the front here, and bring in an entry through here and create an axis right through the building that'll bring you right through into the back and into a garden out into the back. And as you come into the entry, we're going to have the offices and a reception desk, and opposite of that, it would have a library. And again, trying to create a very warm, welcoming environment. And then also creating a corridor the opposite way. This meeting space here, and again, what we did here is we took and looked at it a couple of different ways. We can get as many as 200 people into this space, but it can also be broke down into 4 separate rooms. One of them being, we can use it for the fitness rooms. Also can be used right off of the kitchen for serving meals to the seniors. We have a sunroom off into the back. Again, with the kitchen here and this table storage right adjacent. Coming down to the hallway, again creating some lockers or storage spaces for the different civic groups that could be using this facility. A billiards and crafts room, and again this crafts room could be multi-use, so that if for whatever reason the meeting space was entirely used, we could serve the senior meals right out of that craft room. Coming down the other way, we do have a small fitness area with storage off of that, and a shower and toilet room and a locker area right off of the fitness room. And coming down, we also have room for the mechanical and also a space for a garage to park the van. And that's all in phase 1. And then in phase 2, we're really looking at a lap pool with 6 lanes, the locker facility, and off of that pool, creating a child care conference room, party room. Again, that could be used right off of the lap pool, but again, can be used, again, multiple use. So if somebody could be using the pool, and it can be, again, used as a conference room for another function outside of that. And then phase 3 would also, is included here, would also be a therapy pool. Going over to the building itself, what we tried to do is create, if you look at your downtown, there's a lot of federal type architecture with that. What we tried to do is pull some of that from there to kind of make a statement of pulling of who your community is. And again, trying to create that warm, welcoming atmosphere to it. Some of the materials, we have the brick and the stone entrances on here, and you can see the covered entrance through there. Again, this would be
I did the same thing.
here would be your entrance here, and this back in here would be the garden and the sunroom, which would be facing on hopefully that would end up being to the east. It will be, excellent. And then as we're moving on into phase 2, this would be, again, here's your covered entrance, your pool in the background here, and then your therapy pool would fit into this area. And again, this would be facing east, where your sunroom is here, and then this would be the pool in back. And again, I just want to express my appreciation for being involved in this project. I'm very excited about it.
Thank you, Dean. And just so that you know, after Dean became involved with our group and worked with us, the Evansville Fire District was looking for an architect. Dean sent in an RFP for that, and he was successful in that bid as well. So that's how much he's impressed our community, and his firm has impressed our community. So thank you, Dean. And like I said, we looked at this rendering the first time, and we all agreed it really fit into our community. And as Dean said, that just doesn't happen every day. So we're very appreciative of that. And we know he listened to what we were asking him because of the multi-uses and the appearance that does coordinate with our existing downtown. So thank you, Dean. And then on to our next process that Ginny helped us with. We only had 2 contractors that gave us RFPs for the actual construction bid. But there again, we spent a lot of time going through those, interviewing the 2 contractors and comparing the costs and looking at their recommendations or their other, what do you call it, references, there you go. And we settled on McGill Construction. They're located in Elkhorn. Steve Knutson is their lead person with this group, and he lives in Janesville, so he's very close to us as well. So I'd like to turn it over to Steve right now, and he can comment on his bid. Thank you.
Well, we're the relative newcomer to this process, but we're very grateful to be involved and are excited as well. It's always great to see something come together for a community like this. I will say that we've done a lot of work with Excel. While we were selected independently of one another, we have a long track record with them, and they do a great job. They design beautiful buildings, but yet very cost-effective buildings. And they're very open-minded, and they're willing to work with us as contractors and take some of our ideas and work together. So I didn't even have too many questions for Dean when I saw the floor plan. I pretty well knew how they were going to design the project, which made it a little bit easier for me to put the numbers together. So I've done this for about 30 years. I am a conceptual estimator, project manager. I'm now chief operating officer of our company, but I still get involved in this because I enjoy it, especially the part that we do here, which is the conceptual budgeting stage. I will say that I've been doing this for a long time, probably done $500 million myself in actual construction estimates and costs and building of buildings. I'm also a certified value engineer. All that means is that we look for ways to build a project exactly the same way without cheapening it up, but finding different ways to do it more economically so you get more building for your dollar as well. And that's, as Ginny said earlier, the process isn't going to end. We're all going to work together now as a team to make this a reality and give you as much building as we can. Thank you.
One thing I want to mention that I guess in this process that we are not quite through with is, yeah, we have designs and we have a real good idea what we want this building to look like. But one of the things that we don't quite, that we have to study yet is how this actual shell is going to be constructed. And one of the things that I do want to mention is that we are considering using a Barco-Pruden building to construct this with. So I just wanted to make sure that.
And Steve's company is a certified
We are Barco
Barco-Pruden
dealer.
Thank you for adding that. I appreciate it. So we will open this up to questions from the audience, but I did want to just mention a couple of other people who've been involved in this. As Phil mentioned earlier, there are some non-board members who are involved in some of our programs or our committees, and the programming committee is one that we've really done a major crossover between the prime timers and our group so that we're addressing the needs of the seniors, because we know that was the donor's original intent, was to promote senior programming. So we're working with that group, and besides Mary, Libby, and myself, Judy Braitsky, Evelyn Cantrell, Barb Pierce, am I missing anyone that's on programming? Susan Cruiser is on programming. So we have a group much larger than our board that's giving us input on what they'd like to see done as far as activities within this group. And also on fundraising. Susan Cruiser's helping us with fundraising. And we've just connected with Jessica Royko here in town, who has done marketing in the past. And she has all of our material to put together a very attractive looking literature piece that we can share with people. And I know the next question is going to be, what about fundraising? And right now we have a glitch. There's a state permit that's required before we can solicit any funds in the public, in print or by verbally. They have not issued that permit yet, so we cannot ask for any funds. We cannot distribute our literature because we can't get in trouble with the state. So that's why we are not asking for any funds right now, although we are a 501c3 and we can legally accept funds. And we will be seeking funds in the future, but we have to do it according to the letter of the law. So we're waiting for that permit so we can get those brochures out. And Jessica has shown us some of her past work, and we're very impressed, very, very professional looking. So we're looking forward to getting that literature from that fundraising group and having that available. And with that, we'll open the floor up to questions, and our experts will answer to their best ability. So, questions? Wow, we covered it that good.
How many square feet is the building?
Phase 1 is 9,800 square feet. Phase 1 is 9,800 square feet, and if you look at Phase 2 would be another 10,500 square feet. So when we're all said and done, a little over 20,000 square feet.
Where are you looking at land?
We've been looking at the old co-op property down by Allen's Creek, and we are in negotiations, but nothing's final. And there again, to keep it all legal, we've been asked not to discuss the terms of that purchase contract, but we are looking at it. I think that's public knowledge, but we can't say a whole lot more.
So you're not looking other than that?
We did look wide and far. We looked at several parcels, yes. Existing buildings, vacant land, we did go through that process. A lot of parking issues, lack of room for expansion. The parcel we're looking at, I can say, is 3.11 acres. And for being a block from downtown, you're not going to find that kind of space hardly anywhere. So that's why we're looking seriously at that and crossing our fingers.
Is the zoning there what we need?
Yes, yes, the zoning is I-1, which is light industrial, and the type of facility that this is considered indoor institutional, and that fits by right into I-1. So it does fit the zoning. The only thing we need is the approved plan, site plan through the city, and we've already been talking to the city planner. We've appeared at Plan Commission and got their initial go-ahead and agreement. They liked the plan, they thought it fit. We have to have more detail from the architects and engineers to get it thoroughly approved, but until we purchase the land and are ready to go, we won't take that step, but it all fits into the zoning. Yes.
Is that land in the floodplain?
It was in the new floodplain that's being created in June or July, Sandy, of this year. And through Dean, their engineers went out and did a wetlands delineation study and determined that it is not in the floodplain. That was submitted. Dean, he's the expert.
Sorry. There's two different, this is a very complicated site because of currently there is a floodplain, and there's a new study that's going to be done and be approved, I believe, either in June or July of next year. What we're proposing to do is put get an approved plan prior to that new floodplain going into effect. However, we will flood protect the building for the new floodplain elevation, and that's how we're looking at handling it. So, but both the existing floodplain and the new floodplain, the site, there is floodplain on both of those sites, but neither one of when this project is complete, neither one of these, or this building will not be in the floodplain when this is done. We will do a LOMA, or a floodplain map amendment to that. We also, as a note too, we also did a wetland delineation on this site, and it has been, we do have a concurrence with the Army Corps that said that there is no wetlands on this site.
Build a dike around it?
Would you raise it? What?
Yeah, what we're gonna end up doing is in order to flood protect the building, what it's saying is take the floodplain elevation